One of the easiest and most reliable ways of sizing markets is to identify a publicly listed company in the industry that you're operating in, because chances are they've already done the due diligence, they've done the research, they've vetted the data to come up with a total addressable market, a TAM, and they've sized the market for you. And the great thing is that this information is available to the public because they have a responsibility to provide information publicly to investors. So for example, let's say that your market is freelancers. What you might want to do is go onto Google to search for Fiverr, and specifically for the investor relations section. Now, I'm an investor in Fiverr, so that's why I'm using it as an example. But you can use whatever publicly listed company is a good representation of the market that you're participating in. So you can see the results here. After the ad, there's the Fiverr Investor Relations page, which you can go to get information on market sizes. So when you go to the investor relations section, there's going to be a lot of information that is not going to be particularly important to you, a lot of financial data, a lot of legal speak. What you're looking for is a company presentation, which here is literally called company presentation. It might be called Q1 presentation, or something from the annual report could also be useful. If you want to skim the annual report, there might be information on the total addressable market there. But here we have a specific separate presentation. Now, if this doesn't have the information that you want, you could go to all the presentations to see it. And here's what we find. Often what publicly listed companies want to do is prove that they have a very large market opportunity, and this is going to attract investors. So you can see that Fiverr here has sized the market. They say the addressable market is $115 billion. So one thing to bear in mind is that the way that you size a market can vary. You can size a market in terms of revenue. You can size a market in terms of the number of participants, the number of companies, the number of users. There's no set rules in terms of how to size the market. Just use whatever way is most meaningful to you and the presentation that you're creating, or the research that you need to make strategic decisions. Now, they have this market here as the addressable market, and then they've also specified the amount of revenue coming specifically from freelancer income in the United States. Often what companies do when they're sizing markets, and something you can consider doing, is creating presentations where there's a large circle indicating the entire market, or the far reaches of what you're capable of reaching if your company is very successful. And then there's like a smaller circle that can indicate, well, realistically, maybe this is a more achievable outcome. And then from there, you get more narrow in terms of the target audience that you're pursuing in the market to generate revenue for your company. And so you can just have concentric circles, kind of like those Russian dolls, where you just keep getting deeper and deeper and smaller and smaller. In the e-commerce space, which is where a lot of small and medium-sized businesses are playing right now, this is where there's a lot of growth, for example, with Amazon sellers. What you may want to reference as a publicly listed company is Shopify. So if you go to Shopify's website, you hit Control F on a PC, search for investor, you'll see that there's an investor section there. And lo and behold, there is another investor presentation indicating the total addressable market, which is an SMB TAM of $153 billion. There's also the entrepreneur TAM, and then there's the larger brands TAM. So they're breaking up the market into these categories. So entrepreneurs is a very wide market, and then the SMB market, which they're separating from entrepreneurs. So a lot of small businesses are just one-person businesses. So here Shopify is trying to distinguish between those and employer businesses, which I guess they're classifying as SMB. And then with their Shopify Plus brand, they're going after larger brands. So you can break up your market in this way and size the different segments when you're preparing a presentation or when you're just making strategic decisions about which markets to participate in. Often what you'll see is a breakdown of how users are required in each of these segments. So larger brands, for example, is where you can do a lot more direct marketing because it's affordable to go after large companies with expensive direct mail, things like that. But as the value of the potential customers gets smaller, for example, individual solopreneurs, then you can't necessarily afford to spend money on things like direct mail. You're going to focus more on word of mouth, PR, influencers, things that have more scalability, perhaps TV ads as another example with brand marketing. So looking to the investor relations page is an excellent way of sizing markets. Next, what I'm going to do is talk about how to size markets using social media data.